Alright, what's up everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Joel Embiid. He has returned to the lineup for the Philadelphia 76ers, and that changes a lot of different things with the Sixers, with the other teams around him for the playoffs, and a lot of stuff. So we're going to talk about all of that here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do also like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it, so you can go back on my channel and watch that. Links to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So Joel Embiid has returned to the lineup for the Philadelphia 76ers against the OKC Thunder. Before this, he had only played in 34 of 75 games. He has not played a game since January 30th against the Golden State Warriors, where he kind of messed up his knee a lot more in that game, And since then, the Sixers had been very, very bad. They were a top 3 team in the East with Joel. He looked like he was going to be a favorite to win his second MVP in a row. And then the injury happens, and they fall all the way down to a play-in team. They're currently the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. But he returned last night against OKC. They got the win. Now for OKC, Shea and Jalen Williams both did not play, but a win is a win, especially at this point of the season. And Joel, he played 29 minutes. He finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. He shot 6 for 14 from the field, 12 for 12 from the free throw line, 0 for 3 from 3. But yeah, he looked solid in his return, You could definitely tell he was tired. There's a lot, every chance he could get to kind of rest a little bit or just kind of catch his breath, he did, absolutely. But, offensively, he looks solid, Some of his shots were short. He still needs to get a little bit of that rust off, obviously, especially the 3-ball. But he still was drawing contact, still getting to the free throw line like he usually does. His passing was on display. He led the team with 7 assists, So defensively, he was solid as well. So he looks solid. Of course, he still needs to get a little bit of rust off him and get that conditioning right. But all in all, looked good, And they got the win as well, And look at this team. I think the assists stand out a lot, especially with Joel, because this team was built to be with Joel there, obviously. You look at this team without Joel Embiid, and it's just a roster full of just whatever. It's like, what the heck is this? Which is why they really struggled with Joel Embiid not there, but now with Joel there, this team is meant to be built around Joel. When you look at Joel, you look at this entire team, you're like, okay, you know what? This team actually is not that bad, So Embiid is back very early in terms of, well, maybe not early, I guess, because there were some hints about it. But he's back. They're winning games. Tyrese Maxey didn't even play last night, which is, of course, his co-star. So when Tyrese Maxey comes back, this team's only going to be better, And now we look at the future, the next couple games, and what does this mean for the 76ers with Joel back, So right now they're currently 41-35. They're sitting at the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. They're still a game and a half behind Miami for the 7th seed and 2 games behind Indiana for the 6th seed. So they're right now in that battle for getting out of the play-in, which would be good for, obviously, not having to play the extra games and getting better matchup, but also it'll be good for Joel if they get out of the play-in, because then he doesn't have to play an extra game or potentially 2, to secure their playoff spot. So looking at the schedule ahead, the Sixers have 6 games left to play in this year. Their next game is probably their biggest game of the year. Biggest game left they have. Thursday they play the Miami Heat in Miami, and they're battling for that 7th seed with the Heat. They played a couple times last month, in the last couple months, and they lost the first game back on Valentine's Day, and then their last game they played in March, they won that game. So this is a huge game in Miami. Joel's going to need to play that one. After that, they have some easy games. After the Miami game, 4 of their last 5 games are against non-playoff teams. They play in Memphis, they play in San Antonio, they play Detroit, Orlando, and Brooklyn for the end of the season. So after that Miami game, they have a really good chance of getting some easy wins to climb up and potentially avoid the play-in. And obviously they need some help from Miami. They need to win that Miami game. They also need some help from Indiana to lose some games as well. But there's a real possibility they can sneak up there, especially now with Joel Embiid back. And now, again, we don't know how much Joel Embiid's going to play. I assume he plays that Thursday game. They only have one back-to-back That's the rest of the stretch. They play in Memphis and in San Antonio back to back. So I don't know how they're gonna, adjust and take that one. But after that, they have every other day. They even have a little bit of a gap between the game April 9th against the Pistons, and they have a 3-day gap, or I guess 2-day rest, and then they get Orlando on April 12th. So I assume Joel's probably gonna play in most of these games. I'm not gonna be surprised if he doesn't play all of them, but I assume he plays most of these games, especially because they kind of need to win some games. So Joel's gonna be there and play, and he needs to get his conditioning right, which is one big thing as well. These next couple games are just gonna be for Joel's conditioning. Obviously they need to win those games, but also they need Joel to get kind of the rust off now. Like that Miami game, if they play one of whichever game he plays out of Memphis, San Antonio, Detroit, those are going to be games that's like, all right, Joel, just, get used to your conditioning again. Get the rust off. You could have a bad game potentially. Just we need you to, kind of get back into the swing of things right here, which is a tough ask, obviously, because he has not played in like 2 months, basically. And now you're asking him to come back with 6 games left in the regular season to not only play, but also play well because you need to win these games, and then get him right into a playoff series or playing maybe. If they don't make it out of the playoffs, if they don't make it out of the top 7, or if they don't make it into the top 6, they're going to have to play playing games. So it's a lot on Joel Embiid's plate, having to come back after 2 months of basically not really playing much basketball, play 6 games that you need to win, and then potentially have to play a play-in game, which is a do or die, 1 or 2 games, and then playoff series, right? Just like that. That's very, very tough to do, which is why I was someone when Joel Embiid first was out and stuff, I was someone on the fence of saying, don't even bring him back, because you're bringing him back at this point where it's only 5 games left. He only has a couple games to really get ready, and then get to the play-in, and then get to a playoff series right away. It's very tough to come from not playing basketball to get into a playoff series, just like that. That's very, very hard to do. Now, Joel Embiid obviously is an amazing player, one of the best players in the NBA. He's a reigning MVP for a reason, so Joel is amazing, obviously. But especially dealing with his past of injuries, in the past he has been someone that has been injury prone. So bringing him back this quick, and not quick, well, kind of like with this much pressure on him is much, but maybe they have a plan, and maybe Joel knows. Maybe Joel knew this. He wants to come back and he wants to, prove himself, obviously. So, yeah, this affects a lot. Of course, the Sixers, what I just talked about, in a sense of now they get their guy back. Now they can get him to play, get him kind of accustomed back into the system, and then they get right into their playoff and play-in, with Joel back. But also affects the entire Eastern Conference playoffs, obviously, because without Joel, you look at the 76ers and they're like, honestly, teams kind of were maybe hoping, Boston or Milwaukee was kind of hoping we get Philly in the first round, because without Joel Embiid, we could beat this team easy. You know what I mean? Bring Joel Embiid back, and now it's like, whoa. Now if you're Milwaukee or even Cleveland at 3, if Philly gets that high up or whatever, it's like, dang, we got to play Joel Embiid now in the first round. You know what I mean? It's not just an easy kind of walk through like it would have been without him. Now he's back, and now it's like, dang, now we got to face him in the first one. That's not an easy first-round matchup. Even with Joel Embiid's only maybe about 70, 80%, it's still Joel Embiid. And with this so much attention he brings to this team, you still have guys like Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre's playing really good right now to kind of alleviate that pressure. It's like, dang, that's a tough first-round series. To be honest, like currently right now as things stand, if they lose that first playing game in Miami, they have to play Boston in the first round. Now, of course, Boston is their own monster, and that probably will be the matchup Philly wants the least, obviously, in the first round. But let's say they win that game. If they match up against Milwaukee in the first round, that's interesting. I would pick Milwaukee in that series, but that's interesting. Especially the Wizards the Bucks just lost to the Wizards last night. You know what I mean? So we don't know about things. If they get matched up with Cleveland in the first round, if Cleveland somehow takes the number 2 spot away from Milwaukee, or if Philly gets to put on a little win streak and they get up to 6 in the East, if Philly has to play Cleveland in the first round, that's a toss-up for me, personally. And I am a Cavs fan, but I'm saying that's a toss-up for me. Especially with how much the Cavs have been dealing with injuries and stuff. If Philly and Cleveland get to meet each other in the first round, that's a 6 or maybe even 7 game series. Even without a fully 100% Joel Embiid. Even with a 70-80% Joel Embiid, even Donovan Mitchell won't be 100% maybe for that series either. You know, he's missed a lot of time. So that's an interesting one. That's a very, very, very interesting one. So Philly, this Joel Embiid coming back changes everything in the Eastern Conference. Because now you might have to go through him in the first round again. And this team, we saw what this team was like with Joel Embiid. This was a top 3 team in the East. This was a team that, honestly, I think I was picking over Milwaukee. I was thinking if Philly plays Milwaukee in the second round, I think Philly wins that series. You know, like I really liked this Sixer team with Joel Embiid. You know, what this team was doing early in the year. And now you bring him back, obviously not 100%, but at 70, 80%, and maybe if he can ramp up a little bit in these last couple games and get himself back to, well, maybe not back to his MVP form, but still being back to being good, like really good, this is a very dangerous team to have to face in the first round. That just adds a whole nother layer to this playoffs, you know? So, yeah, Joel Embiid is back. I'm excited for him to be back. Excited to see what happens these last 6 games, where they end up in the standings, and just wait to see what the Sixer team looks like now. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. I'll join the membership. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.